Welcome to the Leo Cannon podcast. Today we are going to discuss man code and its significance in shaping masculine identity. This seems to be something that might be missing in this soft guy era, and so we're going to address how this can be fixed. Join us.
So we got to get into the topic of bro code or man code, because it seemed like it's non-existent anymore. It don't exist anymore, especially in the neighborhoods where we come from. It's gone. There's no more man code. There's no more bro code. I thought they said we were going through what's called the soft guy era. Now I don't even really know what that means.
I still don't know what. I'm super confused about soft guy.
So that means, I think it means you soft now. Niggas are soft.
I don't like nothing soft around me except for some women.
Right. So but that's what it is now. Soft guy. Everything it's like everything is being feminized, I think.
I love feminine women, but with soft guy, what's that about? That's weird.
Everything is becoming more feminine. I don't think that's healthy for society.
Definitely not. No, I don't think so either.
You know what I mean? You need men that's doing men shit. You need men that's doing man shit, man business, and acting like men and being men. And that's not a slight to women. I love women. I love feminine energy. I love, it's cool, beautiful. Women are art. We don't want to get rid of the women. We don't want to hate on women.
Please
We're not,
don't.
you know what I'm saying? And even if you got some soft dudes out there, if that's how they deal, that's cool.
That's
not hating on them.
Yeah, I'm not hating.
But you can't come from real. You cannot just try to attack real man space. Real men have to draw borders. You know what I'm saying? We have spaces. We got to be able to go to spaces where it's just us. There's no soft guys in there. Once we find out what that really means, you know what I mean?
So I have the soft guy era is kind of where men want to be treated like princesses. They want to be wined and dined and not have to pay for the date or things like that. They want to be on the women's end of it. That's what I've seen of the description of soft guy era.
That sounds like, thank you. That sounds like Fresh and Fit. Because if you listen to Fresh and Fit's whole thing, they're complaining about being men. Well, women got a better deal. Women got a better deal. Women don't have to do this. Women don't have to get up in the middle of the night if it's an intruder. I like being a man, I'll get up in the middle of the night if it's an intruder. I'll fix the tire. I don't care. I like man shit. But I think now it's gotten to a point where we having a generation of men that don't like man shit. You know what I mean? And that's what the soft guy era mean, based on what she's saying.
I'm running to it. We got an intruder in the house. I'm running to it. I like that type of shit.
Right,
I want somebody to come in my house right now and see what I'm gonna be right there. We gonna go right to it.
Right. We're gonna work off some of this aggression.
Man, we gonna work it out. We gonna be good.
Right.
We gonna work it out.
We'll work it out. Yeah.
Well, the thing that happens, sorry to interrupt, but what happens too is like women are very capable. Like, running the household, work, raising kids, like women are capable, and in the this feminist era, like women can do anything, but they don't want to have to do everything.
Right.
And so when it comes to like dating and all this, it's like, for me personally, like things around the house, like I feel they're man tasks, and it doesn't mean I can't do it, but I don't want to have to.
Right.
Like taking out the trash or, cleaning the toilets. Like, of course I can do it. It's not a big deal, but I really don't want to have to, especially if my husband can do it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's normal sexual dynamic.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nothing. I think that's normal. I think that's what's being attacked, though.
Yeah.
That those those traditional gender roles are being attacked. Basic science is being attacked. Now basic math is being attacked. You know, if you think about some of the conversations that Terrence Howard is having with Eric Weinstein and Neil deGrasse Tyson, which, I mean, I never really cared for Neil deGrasse Tyson. Just his whole delivery, his presentation. If you watch him, if you watch how he handles himself on Joe Rogan, like in my opinion, he's the worst guest that's ever been on Joe Rogan. What? Joe Rogan cannot even finish a sentence. And Joe Rogan's so masterful at his craft that you got to watch for it. Like every single time he starts a sentence, deGrasse Tyson will interrupt him. And he's a very intelligent man. He's an astrophysicist, but his social acuity, man, is almost non-existent. You know what I mean? He has no social acuity. But I said that because the way he handled the Terrence Howard thing. Terrence Howard wrote him a letter. He did try to get him. He wrote him a treatise, and Neil deGrasse Tyson read it on his podcast. He talked about it, and he handled it with such respect and such decorum. And it was one of those rare moments where I actually liked the way deGrasse Tyson carried himself, because he really could have went in on Terrence Howard. Now, Eric Weinstein went on Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Eric Weinstein. So you got Joe Rogan, Eric Weinstein, and you've got Terrence Howard sitting there. And all three of these are very likable guys. Right. And they're all sitting on different sides of an issue. You know, Eric Weinstein is a polymath. Harvard educated, Oxford educated, he's taught at some of the best universities in the world. You can read some of his published work, you know what I mean? He's a mathematician. He knows his theory of everything. Check out his book, The Theory of Everything.
Weinstein.
Eric Weinstein. Serious business. But then you have Joe Rogan. He's a fighter. He's a comedian. He keeps himself in his lane. He's not trying to be an educator. He's not trying to be, a polymath or nothing. But Joe Rogan, what makes him special is because he has an incredible curiosity, and he has a gift at asking the right questions. If you really want to know what this dude's contribution is, he gonna get you on his show, and he knows how to ask the right questions with surgical precision. And then you have Terrence Howard on there that knows a little bit of something, but he is, a lot of the things he's saying, you can tell. And I'm not a polymath. I got, basic mathematical understanding of stuff. I can figure things out basically in physics and quantum mechanics and things like rudimentary level. But I got enough of an understanding to know that Terrence Howard treading in waters that he don't quite understand. He's using terms that don't fit the explanation that he's giving them, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, Eric Weinstein handles them with such respect, gives them as much credibility as possible. Doesn't mishandle them, doesn't come across as abusive or anything like that. It was a perfect case of watching bro code play out. It was, Terrence Howard is respected in his craft as an actor. I think he's got a degree in engineering and everything.
Terrence Howard,
the actor. From Chicago too.
Yeah.
And so he was treading in real deep waters here. But you could see the bro code get activated with the way they were handling him. They honored that code, and you know what I'm saying? So Joe Rogan's a white guy, Eric Weinstein's a white guy, Terrence Howard's a brother, deGrasse Tyson is brother. So you got men of different ethnicity, different social backgrounds, but you can see that bro code.
Yeah. You
see what I mean? And, I'm just, barely understanding, math at a level that I know Terrence is in deep water right here. but I can see how well they handling them with respect, and I'm like, damn, I can appreciate that they respecting the code with this bro. Right. They not going in as hard as they could have really went in on him, you know,
because it leaves room to anything pertaining to science. If I'm not, or if I understand correctly, there's no absolutes, right? So he kind of was just giving him room for error, but it's still room for him to grow. If that conversation between Degrassi and Terrence Howard, you know, it was still love within him trying to help him level up, you know.
What would you say are like the top 5 rules, like any young man, you know, entering high school, say, or junior high, should absolutely know as a guy?
Like, you know, yeah. You mean like bro code?
Yeah. Like, what are some things that they should absolutely know, like, to just move through life?
I think at the top of that list for me is don't look for reasons to sleep with girls or sleep with women. Look for reasons to not sleep with them. Eliminate them off your list at the slightest infraction. If you think one of your homies got an interest in her, she's permanently off the list.
Of course,
definitely. You see what I'm saying? Even if,
definitely.
Most you know what I mean? If that's exactly, but it's been so negated. You got to look for reasons. You know what I mean? She's your sister's friend. You know, she's if there's a case where you having an intimate relationship with this girl, woman, is going to damage any other relationships in your life or her life, she's off the list.
With that, yeah,
there's too many options.
Too many options. You
know, you want somebody that, and the reason why I say that, because that spider web of intimacy is what gets so many young men off their square and distracted from, you know, craft, which is the most important thing.
Ultimate.
So to me, you know, bro code is that right there. Top of the list, look for reasons to eliminate women off your potential list of intimate partners. You know what I mean? Whatever the slightest infraction may be, she's off the list.
Man, that's automatic.
You know what I mean? Until you've narrowed that list down to where it's non-existent, but guess what? It's going to open up again as your life levels up.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And as you eliminate those options off of a particular list, then it forces you to grow and evolve as a man. Next, the most important rule I would say bro code would mean to me personally is to, you know, pay attention to what your government is doing. Because I don't really know, you know, how you can consider yourself a man or a bro if you're not fully understanding the kind of moves that your government is making. Because your government is who dictates the environment in which you live in.
That's right.
You know, the same way as if we were living in the jungle. If you imagine we're living in the jungle, if you live in the jungle, you want to understand everything about that environment to negotiate that environment in order to be king of that jungle, right? Imagine that the government, in a way, is providing a jungle that we have to learn to navigate. And so you wanna know the government like the back of your hand. You see what I mean? Because if you don't, it can dictate and control your livelihood in ways, and you know what I mean? It's going to stick his hand in your pocket, take money out your pocket. It's going to do a whole lot of things. It's going to change property lines. It can do everything from the petty, you know, to the gross. So you want to know that. You know what I mean? Third thing I would say is don't be sensitive. You know what I'm saying? You can't be sensitive. That's bro code. You got to be able to take a jab.
Got to.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a real jab or it's a joke or somebody give you a hard time or something.
Yeah.
You got to be able to take a jab. You can't be sensitive.
No, you can't be your soft guy era.
You can't be in the soft guy era. You can't be wearing your emotions on your sleeves. You know what I mean? And I think another one would be try to understand yourself from other people's perspective. Not just going through the world, seeing the world through your own perspective and making your judgments and your decisions off of how you perceive everything. Try to see yourself the way someone else sees you, because you'll learn more about yourself that way. You know, if you see yourself the way some other people see you, now we're talking about within a certain environment. We're not talking about the stranger on the street or anything like that, but we're talking about friends and associates. Try to see yourself through their eyes, because this is where you're going to get the most, your best growth curve. You see what I mean? Because there's the things you know, there's the things you don't know about yourself, and there's the things you don't know about yourself. You see what I'm saying?
On.
And then other people that see you can see you through a lens that you can't see yourself. Now, mind you, their lens could be off, and a lot of times part of it is off. But at the same time, all of it is not off.
Spot on. Yeah.
You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If somebody else is viewing me, is in my circle, and he's viewing me, and 90% of how he's perceiving me is wrong. He's seeing me through the way his lens and how he sees the world, and he's judging me according to how he sees the world, and he thinks the things I do and say, he's defining it according to what his logic and his reasoning might be. Now, that might be 90% of it, but 10% of it, he's seeing things about you that you don't see about yourself.
Let me ask you then. So would that come down to doing more self-reflection as a man?
It's a tool. It's a very important tool in the self-reflection process, because otherwise, you don't have a true litmus test upon which to self-reflect, because you're going to keep, it's almost like, you're going to keep, it's going to be a bias. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a bias. And then on top of that, you can't really ask people what they see, because people are always trying to save each other's feelings. Even if you don't want them to save your feelings, they'll say, they'll think, I can't tell them that.
Right.
And they won't be brutally honest with you. So you have to train yourself to see yourself through another person's eyes, through the people around you.
Love it.
You see what I mean? And then from that process, what you're trying to get at is their reactions and responses to things you do and say. And you're going to learn to narrow down how they're perceiving you through the way they react to you. Mind you, a lot of that is going to be based on their own insecurities and their own personal experiences and their own belief structure and a whole lot of blah, blah, blah. But like I said, you got to weed through a lot of weeds, and you still going to get some gold out of it. And then you take from that, and that's what you use in your self-reflection process. You see what I mean? And, that's bro code, but that's male or female.
Right.
Because, bottom line here, we're here to perfect ourselves. And you can't perfect yourself if you are still seeing yourself through the same tainted lens and you think you're right about everything you say. You follow?
Right. And you got to be grounded too. I believe a lot of it comes down to being grounded. The right individuals around you hold you accountable. No accountability. That's important with, even amongst bro code and just in general.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, the reflection is, you've heard the axiom, you're the sum of the 5 closest people to you. You know what I mean? Or the one that's birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
So that's a great way. The perception of it, if you have 5 guys, your 5 closest associates are all fuckheads, and you didn't know you were a fuckhead, guess what? You're a fuckhead. You didn't know you were a fuckhead. But if everybody in the group is a fuckhead, you're a fuckhead too. And so then you got to have some self-honesty. I'm with these guys because I'm a fuckhead just like them. But, you know, I can't taste my own Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? I can't, you know, you never taste your own Kool-Aid, got too much sugar in it. So you let somebody else taste your Kool-Aid and it's like, damn, you got too much sugar in here. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, you have to, and then from there you want to start upgrading your associates. You know what I mean? If you can get your associate pool where everybody is self-made men, they're all on the path of something, they're all pursuing a craft, they're all dedicating their time to altruistic pursuits. You know, you're in a group of men that's talking about, you know, charitable causes. They're talking about male responsibilities, social responsibilities, and things like this. Then maybe you fitting into a better group then. You know what I'm saying? But if you in a group where, you know, everybody is, you know, potheads or something like that, and you don't think you one of them, you're one of them.
Definitely.
You know, so you got to get away from that.
I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, when I was younger, I was an athlete, and I was a softball pitcher, and I was just getting started, and I had a pitching coach that I'd go see once a week to, you know, learn how to pitch and everything. And I was starting to get good, and I got on a travel team, and he's like, you want to make friends with the best person on that team, whoever the best player is. You'll get noticed by college coaches, and you'll get better as a player. And it just like, it clicked to me, and I was like, yeah. And then your whole circle is better, and then you start rising to the occasion. Even if you weren't as good of a player to begin with, your level goes up and you're better.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. And I've heard that. I never really put much thought into it until later. And then as I've gotten older, and it's kind of like, I listen to a lot of different artists, you know, a lot of Chicago artists, and even in Detroit, one artist, Skilla Baby, he goes, well, actually, he was doing something. He's like, you want to get next to me? He said, if you want to make some money, he said, come get next to me. And when he said that, I said, and then his management, they were in Detroit. They were doing some like some type of like event, and the guy asked Wallow, because it was Wallow and Gilly the Kid, and he goes, you know, what advice would you give to someone that's trying to, you know, level up as a young man and try to get in position? He said, come get next to me. You want to make some money. And so that just made sense. So kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, you know, if you want to be great, or, you know, you got to get around people that's making some stuff happen. That's going to help level up your greatness, because you might be tapped in, but you got to get into the right plug. You're not in the right circle.
Or you might be tapped out at the level you're at, and the only way to go up is you have to find a new level. So, like, and in sport, for me, sports is an easy analogy, because that's just what I did.
Right.
It was like, okay, I, you know, peaked at Parks and Rec. Now I need to do travel ball. And it's like, okay, I did travel ball. Now I need a better team. And the more you keep, like, pushing it, the better you get, and the more opportunities you have.
Yeah, I guess that's still in alignment with bro code, because you want to get around the right bros. You know what I mean? I mean, even if you around 4 or 5 fuckheads, they still, you know what I mean? That expression, thicker than thieves. You know, if you still around 4 or 5 fuckheads, that's your bro code. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a different type of bro code that you dealing with. You know, but if you're around 4 or 5 men that are self-made men in various ways, then there's going to be a different bro code involved. Like another one thing Fresh and Fit says that all men cheat. You know what I mean? The more successful you are, you're going to cheat. He's seeing the world through his lens. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not understanding what it means to have a lot of options but not take those options. He can't imagine living in a world where because you're successful, because you have access, that that access is denied. He doesn't understand how that forms and that puts a certain type of molding and pressure on your inner metal that molds you into a particular type of a man to be able to walk through a room full of women and know that you got options all through this room and walk through that room and not touch anyone.
Come on now.
You see what I'm saying? He's never navigated that world. So he's never had that he doesn't know how that feels to work on his inner being. You know what I mean? And then how that form of discipline is then transferred over into other things that you do. The pursuit of craft, integrity in other relationships, the ability to keep your word, your follow through, and things like that. They are all related.
That's right.
And so, giving the advice that he does is very misleading. Yeah. Because what he's trying to say is success is synonymous with promiscuity. And that's a lie.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
That's a lie right out the gate, because first of all, you're not gonna amount to much success until you can deny yourself all these distractions.
That's right.
You see what I mean?
Sir.
Now we're living in the day or the age of, fake rich and all of that, where you know what I'm saying? So you can pretend like you're something that you're not. But the true test of what you really are is when you get thrown into that shark infested water. You see what I mean? When you get thrown into that water with those sharks, you got to walk through a room full of vultures, and your philosophy is because you got some money, a little bit of success, then all these options of women are open to you. He don't understand what vultures are. You know what I'm saying? He don't know. Get your bones picked till they white clean. You know what I mean? Your bones can get picked clean. It's better for a man. It's safer for a man to be in a monogamous relationship, especially if you are in pursuit of a goal, whether that's a financial goal or a goal of craft, or you're trying to give something back to the world. The best place for you to be, the safest place for you to be, is in a healthy monogamous relationship, so you can have that ventilation for your your intimacy, not just running around like a bull with your nose wide open. That's not going to maintain anything.
Do you think that that's really an example of someone who's trying to level up, but it's past their potential? Kind of like, like the big fish in the little pond, and then they move to the bigger pond and they can't become a big fish in a big pond.
Or they can't even be a fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good analogy. That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, because some people, they just need a bigger pond and then they become sharks.
Exactly. Once you get in that bigger pond, the shark can start growing. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see the whole time this cat was a shark the whole time, because now he's in a bigger body of water. But then you get Fresh and Fit is the perfect example of a big fish in a small pond. Like I've never wanted to slap a man in the face as much as I wanted to slap this dude in his face. I'm telling you, the way he talks to some of these women on this show, and in order to magnetize any kind of level of success or, attract the people, because success does not happen in a vacuum. There is going to be some people that you have to cross paths with that's going to either mentor you, that's going to be some degree of mentoring or emotional support or direction, advice. You're going to cross paths with people, and sometimes these are going to be people that are male or female, and even the male people are going to have women in their life that they love and respect. As a man, you should have women in your life that you love and respect. You see what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And he's throwing all of that away, telling a whole generation of boys that that's not the case no more. You don't need to love and respect women at all. We're moving into a world where they're educating these boys that, throw away all the love and respect. Now, does that mean all women merit your love and respect? Absolutely not.
Of course not.
You have to know when to walk away.
At a sermon.
That's the part of the bro code. So the bro code is it's an internal process. The code has to be the code has to be intrinsic, so you know when to walk away. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's his name? Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to run. Remember that song, The Gambler? You got to know when to fold up. Remember that? Know when to hold them. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. That's bro code. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. You see what I'm saying? Kenny Rogers laid out. He talking about it. He kicking game. He talking about it like it's a gambler. He talking about, you know what I mean? Because the name of the song is The Gambler. It's 1970 something. I don't know, 1980, 70, 60 something. But it's a cold-blooded song. And he telling a story about a young guy that's a gambler, and he crossed paths with an older guy that's a gambler. And the older guy that's a gambler, he lighting his last cigarette, and he give the young guy the code. But he giving them the bro code in the form of a gambler's code. You see what I'm saying? Sir. And the old cat is lighting his last cigarette, you dig, and then he dropped knowledge on Youngblood. And that's when he tell him, you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them. Now you can take that and extrapolate that into any type of relationship, your male relationships with your guys, and your intimate relationships, your male-female relationships. You can extrapolate. That's just not about being a gambler.
True.
You can extrapolate that into your whole reality, because it encapsulates bro code. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it came out in 1978.
1978, he was dropping knowledge in 1978. But then, Kenny Rogers was running with Lionel Richie. They was tight. You see what I'm saying? Lionel Richie from the Commodores. And
Shout out to Lionel Richie, man.
You know what I mean?
He's still moving and grooving.
He's still,
to this day.
He opening up in Vegas this weekend. Or last weekend, he opening up in Vegas. When was it? Last weekend or this weekend?
Let me know.
A couple weekends ago. Within the last month, he just started his Vegas show. Within the last couple weeks, I think.
He be kicking it too, though.
He's still kicking it.
Kicking the music back in the day.
This cat had hits.
Oh yeah,
in decades.
Yeah, they was talking about him recently. They was talking about him and Eddie Murphy. They had two of the top hits at that point in time to get like. Party all the time, party all the time, party all the time.
Eddie Murphy back in the
game. Murphy, right?
Lionel Richie, he's starting a residency at the Wynn in Vegas in September.
Oh, it starts in September. Okay.
But he's still traveling around doing stuff.
He's still moving.
Yeah, he's a big deal. He a heavyweight.
He still is.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have Lionel Richie. I tell you what, Lionel Richie was. I was a kid, and I was reading a magazine or something, and I want to say I was about I couldn't have been more than 10, 11 years old. And I was reading an article on Lionel Richie. And I think Lionel Richie, the article said Lionel Richie was worth $350 million. I didn't even know nothing like that exists. I'm like, $350 million?
He got a bag.
That was a bag. And this, we talking about before these guys, they was racking in these kind of numbers. You know what I mean? This was big corporate numbers.
He pulling them down.
He was pulling down corporate numbers.
I love his daughter too, Nicole Richie.
Nicole Richie, he was $350 million back when Super Rich was like $15 million.
Yeah, he got it, man. And he earned his stripes too.
Yeah,
he really did.
Oh yeah, because he's a prolific songwriter.
Yeah,
but he knows the bro code. If you listen to his music and the Commodores, bringing back the bro code, all the Commodore music,
full circle.
It's in the bro code.
Everything comes back to bro
you know
code.
I mean? Jackson 5. If you listen to some of the music, it's bro code in there.
But you'll see when it comes away from bro code, then everything separates.
Yeah.
There's no togetherness. Bro code is vital for any type of relationship in general.
Biggest bro code violation would have been Eazy-E and Jerry, what was his name?
Jerry Heller.
Jerry Heller. When Eazy-E backdoored Dre and Ice Cube violated the bro code. Big way. You know what I mean? Ice Cube saw it coming. And I remember when all this was playing out in real time. Because I was 18 years old. And so first time Ice Cube them came out with, when NWA dropped, I'm 17 years old. And never in the world had anybody heard something, you know what I'm saying, straight out of Compton. Crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. From a gang called Niggas with an Attitude. When I'm called off, I got a sawed off. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you fuck with me. Man, that shit blew me away. Fuck the police and Ren said it with authority. Man.
It's deep.
That changed the game. That wasn't even an album. That was a moment. The only time I seen it done since then is Red Hot Chili Peppers did it. Same thing. Dre did it multiple times because he did it with that NWA Straight Outta Compton. He did it with The Chronic. And then he did it again with Doggy Style. You see what I'm saying? So Dre is, and then come right behind Dre, come Red Hot Chili Peppers with what's his name? Keith?
Anthony Kiedis.
Anthony Kiedis. Same thing.
Californication.
They got some hammers on there.
That's my song.
Californication, Dark Necessities.
Under the Bridge.
Under the Bridge. You know what I mean? Another one, but it wasn't the whole CD. It was Sublime with Santeria. That was a heavy one.
Growing up in LA with Sublime, like I went to high school when they were huge, and it was a thing.
Oh yeah, it was a thing. I don't care where you were. But I mean, the whole CD was good, but it was that one hit for me, Santeria. You know what I mean? But if you listen to the song Santeria, he got some bro code in there. Listen to the lyrics to Santeria. You talking about whooping old boy punk ass. You gotta listen to the lyrics. All of these is about bro code in there. They disseminating bro code one way or another. The people don't always get it. You know what I'm saying? The plebs don't always hear it the way it's supposed to be heard.
That's right.
But doesn't it, because it's in there, it's a good influence?
But if something is meant to be, it's going to be equally a good influence and a bad influence at the same time. So, for example, Ice Cube and NWA caught hell with Fuck the Police and Straight Outta Compton. So, you know, and this is arguably, you can say they were the birth, this is the birth moment of gangster rap in a lot of ways. But you had, you know, Ice-T came along before them, and you had Too Short, but you know what I mean? But Ice Cube and NWA, Eazy-E, and these cats were considered the birth of gangster rap. But now every coin has two sides to it, because you can hear the education in what they're doing. They are just giving you as if the same way as if you've got, what's the big reporter's name in the he just recently retired. We watched the special on him.
Dan Rather?
Dan Rather. Think about it. If you haven't seen Dan Rather special, watch Dan Rather. Dan Rather was a renegade. Dan Rather was he was a dinosaur, dying breed. Shout out to Dan Rather.
I like him.
He wasn't no bitch. He caught a lot of problems because he was gonna tell the people what the fuck he saw. He was standing on it. He's not gonna tell you what they want you to hear. Dan Rather was gonna tell you exactly what the fuck he saw. And a lot of people had a problem with Dan Rather because of that. And so he went out like a legend. But Dan Rather was behind. Sometimes Dan Rather was in war zones. He was in some pivotal moments. But what he did was he just told you what he saw. That's all NWA was doing. You know what I mean? They was just telling you what they saw. Now, no different than what Dan Rather was doing. Now, you could take that and say, okay, I see what they're saying. I see the same thing, and I'm going to do something about it, too. I'm going to level up and get out of this shit. Or you can join the conflict, and then you can blame them. That's just like Dan Rather in the war zone. He in Beirut or something, and he telling you what he see, and then everybody decide to join the conflict and then say, oh, I joined the conflict because Dan Rather told me what he saw. That's how ridiculous that sounds if you got some critical faculty, some critical thinking processes. Bro code.